to another episode of Always Up to Date. Again, my name is Yahweh. I'm one of the owners of Always Bookkeeping, and this is my colleague Denise. She's a co-owner as well. And we're here to give you some tips for easy bookkeeping. So our quote for today is from Michael Gerber. He's the author of E-Myth. And he says the entrepreneurial model has less to do with what's done in a business and more to do with how it's done. The commodity isn't what's important, the way it's delivered is. So our statistics is 15% of business fail in 1 year, 30% fail by year 2, and 50% fail by year 5. Why don't you give us some stories about your experience that's related to our quote and our stats?
Yeah. Business owners, especially small business owners, are handling everything themselves. They have to deal with everything. Sometimes they can't afford to have other staff members to help them out. So they're doing everything, including the bookkeeping. And so then at the end of the day, there's no time left over for themselves or for their family. And so we just wanted to try to give some tips for easy bookkeeping. Of course, the easiest bookkeeping is to give it to somebody else to do, but these are some good tips. If you do hire a bookkeeper, how you can make it so much easier for yourself and for your bookkeeper.
Absolutely. So first thing you want to ask yourself is that, can being organized make your bookkeeping easier?
Yeah, absolutely. If you've seen our other videos, we've talked a lot about this of, having your receipts and your statements organized so that you can just hand them to your bookkeeper and they can do what they need to do. They don't have to sort through them before they actually do the bookkeeping.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you need to provide to your bookkeeper?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of things that you need to provide to the bookkeeper. Statements from your bank, statements from your credit card. If you have a QuickBooks file that you've already started working on, you might want to provide them with that so they can just continue on with it rather than starting a new one. Sometimes on your statements, you might need to give a little description of what something is. Sometimes we see on a statement, A&W. We know that that's a restaurant. It's meals and entertainment. But then there might be something else that says Frank's.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be anything. We don't know what Frank's is. So you might want to jot some notes down so that we know exactly where we need to post that transaction to.
Absolutely. Amazon. There's a lot of
Amazon,
stuff on
yeah,
Amazon.
that's right. Yeah, that's probably a better example. But right.
So, why is it a good idea to have time set aside to talk to your bookkeeper?
Yeah, we think it's really important to talk to your bookkeeper. There's something about sending an email, just getting the reports and looking at them, but to really be able to talk to your bookkeeper and find out, why did you do it this way? What does this report mean? Did I have enough information? Do you need anything else from me? To actually get on the phone and talk to them is so important.
And especially for small business owners who doesn't necessarily have employees yet and are doing everything themselves. At the end of the day, we only have the same hours in a week, right?
That's right.
And if you can eliminate all the texts and all the emails and all the phone calls into one set date for half an hour, why wouldn't you?
That's right.
Right?
And chances are, after all of those emails and texts, you're going to have to pick up the phone and call anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well just do it from the beginning.
Absolutely. Do you need to schedule your bookkeeping?
Yeah, we think that scheduling is so important to small businesses. It is imperative to be able to have your calendar and schedule that meeting in. If you don't schedule that meeting in, it's not going to happen. It might happen the first, the second time, but eventually something else is going to creep in there and take that spot. And then you're not going to get a chance to talk to your bookkeeper. You're not going to get time to do that bookkeeping that needs to get done. And it's going to get put off, and then it's just going to be harder. You're going to be disorganized. Yeah.
Yeah. How often should you do your bookkeeping?
So here at Always Bookkeeping, we strongly believe that every 2 weeks, so bi-weekly, we should do the bookkeeping. Again, like we talked about on another video, if you have employees and you pay them bi-weekly, you kind of need to know where you're at, what your company is doing, because you don't want to not have money to pay your employees. 1 week is kind of, it's just not enough time to get all those transactions happening. A month, maybe a little too long. Again, you're probably paying your employees in between there, and you really want to know where you're at with your bank account, with your expenses.
Yeah, and like at the end of the month, that's when you want to strategize on how to do your business instead of doing catch up from the previous month that happened.
Exactly.
Right? How many bank accounts should you have?
Yeah, so we've seen lots of clients that have bank accounts for everything. They have bank accounts for their business, their bank account for their taxes, even, their corporate taxes, their GST, their personal taxes, and they put money into it. And that just complicates things so much. We just really believe that you need 2 bank accounts, or one bank account for your operating expenses and 1 credit card. Your credit card, you may need an extra credit card for an employee if they do a lot of purchasing for you.
Or your spouse.
But really, those are the only 2 things you need. Your balance sheet should be able to tell you how much you're going to need to pay in taxes, and so you should be able to see that in your account. You don't need to have a separate account for those.
And I mean, I know some of the business owners would like to have 1 or 2 bank accounts just because they have the comfort level, and that's not bad. What we're trying to say is that like having those 4 extra accounts or like 3 extra accounts just to track your GST and your corporate tax, although that might be effective for you to track your expenses, it might be unnecessary. That's why we're doing the bookkeeping, right? Is to track those expenses and to be able to rely on those reports, as opposed to let's say putting them up to the end, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so 1 or 2, not bad. Yeah, and again, it's not much, but it's still a little bit of saving in the bank charges, I would say, right?
That's right. Also, going back to the first point about how being organized can make your bookkeeping easier. If you have a whole bunch of different bank accounts, you're constantly looking to see where you took that expense from. Where did that expense come from? Which account did I use to pay this? And so with one, the expenses are all coming out of that one account. Yeah,
exactly. Is it okay to use my personal bank account for business?
We strongly recommend that you don't do that.
Yeah.
If you have to pay for some expenses personally, we can always credit it to your shareholder loan. But again, we're talking about tips for easy bookkeeping. So much easier if you just keep your business and your personal accounts separate from each other.
Much easier tracking.
Yeah, absolutely. And also then, again, your bookkeeper will know which is personal and which is a corporate expense. If it's all lumped together, the bookkeeper doesn't know. When you went out for that meal, was it a business meal or was it a personal meal? So then you're again, going back to being disorganized, it's going to cost you more. Those meetings that you have with your bookkeeper are going to be so much longer than you wanted them to be.
Does it matter how the income statement is organized?
Yeah, absolutely. A good bookkeeper should have your income statement organized so that you have your revenue at the top, cost of goods sold, and then your expenses. And your expenses should be numerically descending, so that you can see at the top of those expenses, that's what you spend the most money on. Normally rent, salaries, that kind of thing should be at the top. If the first thing you look at is meals maybe, or interest and bank charges, you might focus on that and try to figure out how, spend hours trying to figure out how to get your bank charges lower, when really
you could have used that time to minimize your costs and the higher driving costs.
Exactly. Just with that as well, not only is it important to how the income statement is organized, But you also need to be looking at your balance sheet with your income statement. You should never look at your income statement by itself.
They go hand in hand.
They do.
Do you need a separate account for every expense?
No. The main expenses, yes, you do. But for example, you don't need an account for your interest and bank fees, and then an account for your tax interest and interest on something else. Interest and bank fees is good. You can put it all into there. Makes it small. Your income statement will be one page. You can get it one page, much easier to look at. You don't need accounts for meals that you have with your staff, meals that you have with a business associate, meals that you have with potential clients. It all can go into meals and entertainment. And,
because we would see clients that would have a separate account just for Netflix. That's
that's
overdoing it. It's a bit Okay, so do you need to keep all your receipts?
Yeah, your bookkeeper doesn't necessarily need to see all of your receipts, but definitely you need to keep them. I think the CRA requires you to keep them for 7 years. They may never ask you to see them, but there is that opportunity for them to send you an audit and expect to see those receipts. So definitely keep your receipts for 7 years.
So I think that's all our questions for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on our channel. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys later.